hear the term greenhouse gases, we tend to think of carbon dioxide. However, according to Dr. Jennifer Glass, an assistant professor in the School of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences at Georgia Tech, CO2 is not the only greenhouse gas that should be on our radar.
Not everybody knows about the second and third most important greenhouse gases, which are methane and nitrous oxide. And both of those are actually much more potent than carbon dioxide, so they have a lot more warming potential.
Glass has only been at Georgia Tech for about 6 months, but her lab has already begun to explore the relationship between the greenhouse gas cycling of methane and nitrous oxide and the microbes that perform these processes. Glass is particularly interested in trace metal requirements for the microbial enzymes involved in the gas cycles.
I've always been fascinated by the mechanisms of how the microbes are able to cycle these different nutrients, and it all basically comes down to enzymes. And a lot of these enzymes contain metal cofactors. So right at the heart of the enzyme, there's a metal like iron, or there's a few metal atoms in there that really do the redox chemistry that drives the process.
Glass started out as a geology and oceanography major at the University of Washington and started to fall in love with microbiology during her undergraduate studies.
I think I got into that in some lab groups there that study hydrothermal vents on the seafloor, and I just thought that was the coolest thing ever, that there were these hypothermophilic, high temperature, really extreme microorganisms. I got the opportunity to study those as an undergraduate, and ever since then I've been in earth science departments, but I've had the real pleasure of working kind of at the intersection of geology and geochemistry and microbiology.
The interdisciplinary nature of her research has given her the opportunity to collaborate with scientists across the country. She's even worked with other researchers at Georgia Tech, including Dr. Joel Koska, Dr. Thomas DiCristina, and Dr. Frank Stewart.
And I had the great pleasure of actually going on a cruise with Frank Stewart's group last summer to the Eastern Tropical North Pacific to collect samples for that. So it was my first time working on that system, a very low oxygen system, also emitting greenhouse gases such as nitrous oxide. And so we are linking the geochemistry again with the microbiology, and specifically using kind of next generation sequencing methods to understand what microbes are doing, what processes in the oxygen minimum zones, which are expanding in these coastal areas and increasingly emitting greenhouse gases like nitrous oxide to the atmosphere.
While the samples she uses come from all over the world, from Minnesota to Indonesia, most of the research is conducted right in the lab using benchtop chemistry and analytical tools like gas chromatography. One critical device in the Glass lab is the anaerobic chamber.
A lot of the microbial processes that we're interested in occur at low oxygen conditions, and so we have to mimic those conditions in the laboratory, and that is why we use the anaerobic chamber, which has very low ppm levels of oxygen. And so we can basically have this anoxic environment for the microbes that they're accustomed to when they're deep in the sediments or they're deep in the ocean. These low oxygen environments are often where the greenhouse gases are being produced, and so that's kind of the link between the two.
Glass believes that just understanding a few microbial mechanisms will have a huge impact in years to come.
I think it's really important to understand how these natural processes are working with basic science. Without really understanding the basic science and the mechanisms at work, naturally we really can't fully understand how our global climate system is going to respond in the future. So it's really important to, along with the engineering and all the amazing engineering that's happening here, it's really important to focus on just basic science.